Good morning, Dr. Berne. How are you doing today?
I'm well. Thank you for asking.
Well, I'm honored to be here having this conversation with you, to officially welcome you to the Madison College family. We're very excited to have you as our incoming president.
Thank you. I couldn't be happier to be here.
And so tell us about your journey. So we're, again, excited to welcome you into the Madison College community, but what led to this point in your career?
Yeah, well, many things. I have only worked in education my whole life. I started as a very young person and lucked into a job teaching English at a community college and had no idea what I was doing, but took to it and really was stimulated by watching people grow and learn. And from there, I think I've been everything you can be in academics. I've been a college professor, and I've at 2-year and 4 years. I've been a department chair. I've been a dean. I've been a adjunct faculty. I've been a vice president of academic affairs. I've been a provost, and now I'm a president. So this is the accumulation of all my experiences. And people sometimes look at my resume and say, wow, you've been a lot of places. And I'm very happy to say that I'm hoping that this is my very last place. I've moved all those places so that I could get here, so that I could accumulate experiences, and have enough breadth of knowledge to be able to lead a complex and exciting college in a beautiful and stimulating city.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for
Thank
that.
you.
And in your educational experience, I guess what has stood out to you about two-year colleges in particular? Of course, I believe we all have our biases about community colleges being special, but can you speak more to that from your personal experience?
Yeah, I mean, I think that community colleges are so clearly life-affirming and life-changing. We've all just had commencement at Madison College and community colleges all over the country. And when you watch future nurses, future police officers, future accountants walk across the stage and you hear their families, you feel this life shift that they have accomplished something and grown, and that affects them, and it affects their families, and it affects their communities. So we know that people who get degrees, their children are more likely to get degrees, they're more likely to have better health outcomes, and they're more likely to stay in the community and contribute. So I think that makes a community college special. The other thing is, in community colleges, many of the students never expected to be there. They never expected to be wearing a cap and gown and walking across the stage and earning a degree or certificate. And here they are. So I'll say finally, I really like the diversity in life experiences of community college students. You have grandmothers sitting next to recent high school graduates. You have people who've been in the workforce, sitting next to people who've never worked a day in their lives. And those synergies and energies are really special.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. And speaking of celebrations and recent graduates, we understand that you have a credential that you recently completed as well. Congratulations on receiving your MBA.
Thank you so much.
Can you tell us about that and what you envision in terms of the application to your role as incoming president?
Yeah, well, it was a hard decision to go back and get a degree as a very, very adult learner, working full time. But I did look at our students and realize that many of them are adult learners working full time, earning their degree. And I had never done that. When I got my degrees the first time, I was a more traditional aged and had less responsibilities. And I believed that doing that would help me feel closer to students and be a better leader. Why I chose an MBA in particular, 2 reasons. One is I like to do hard things. I thought that would be among the hardest things for me to do. My background is in English, writing and literature, and education, and I have almost no background in business and math. So I thought I should try and see what I can do. It was an amazing experience to be inside of those disciplines that I hadn't thought about really since high school. So that was one reason. The other reason is professionally, I managed a large academic budget. As a provost, the budget of academics is the largest in a college by far, as it should be. And people would say, what do you do with your budget? And I would say, well, I manage a large budget. And when I would go home at night, I would think, what does that mean? I think it means I don't spend more than I take in, but there must be more. So I wanted to go to business school to figure out what are really innovative and intelligent ways to think about the sources and uses of funds, and thinking about budgeting as supporting students. And supporting innovation, not just balancing. So I think for all those reasons, I went back. It was amongst the hardest things I've ever done. But like our students, I felt my brain changing. I had always worked with words, and I would, in the midst of it, kind of lay in bed at night and equations would be running across my head. And I was feeling like something was happening in my brain that was shifting. And I now feel I can take sort of the qualitative parts of me and the quantitative parts that I'm acquiring and put those together.
Wow. Thank you for sharing both about your experience as an adult learner, but also how you acquired a new lane of knowledge that you look forward to applying in this role.
Thank you.
So, Dr. Berne, what core experiences or influences have you had that have really had an impact on who you are and your role as a leader?
So I'm going to talk about a couple experiences, and then I'll talk about some people that influenced me. I think my most salient core experience is really being a mother and having to understand how people traverse the world, and thinking about being an advocate for your own children. When I work with students, I always think to myself, how would I want my own children treated? And how would I want an institution to embrace my child? And I think it sounds like a small thing, but I think it's really resonant to feel every day that you're representing the college, and that the representation of the college goes home with the student. And the student says to their loved ones, this is what happened to me at Madison College. And I want that to be a positive experience. So that's one thing that I think really is a core experience. Another one, I used to work with teachers, helping them implement best practices in writing instruction. And I was working with a teacher in Manuka, Illinois. Shout out to them. It's a great small district. And we were talking about some new practices in writing instruction, and she got tears in her eyes, and she said, oh my goodness, I've been doing it wrong all these years. And I remember thinking, that is the rightest thing I've ever heard, which is a person who can reflect on what they've been doing and are really, in some ways, pained by feeling like they weren't doing it well enough. Of course, she was doing it well enough, but that's sort of the dissonance of learning, which is having to go back and rethink things that you've done in the past so that you can move to the future. So I found that also just very useful as I talk to people about change, which is very hard. And I never want people to think because we're trying to do it this way now, doesn't mean anything about the way we were doing it. You or we were doing it in the past. So I think that's also a really important memory. I also have memories of mentors that I've had who've influenced me tremendously. I had a mentor who said, over-communicate by a factor of 10. And as a teacher, I would say things many, many times, and I would get kind of tired of myself saying them. And then when I put that sort of sentiment together, I thought, I'm saying it over and over, but people really, it takes them a long time to hear it.
Right.
It takes me a long time to hear things that other people are saying. So I think that's, and she also said, over-communicate by a factor of 10 and communicate it in different ways because people have different ways of hearing.
Right.
I had another mentor who told me really importantly, look, work with each student individually, but when you do policy for the 99%. So don't think every time you try to do something where there's this one student that won't work for. Right. You really have to, again, work with every student individually because every student is sort of an N of one and has their own unique issues and gifts and challenges. But when you're making larger policy, make it for most people, because if you are trying to be perfect, you'll never get to good, right? So I think that was a second thing. And then finally, I had a dynamic mentor who said the very simple thing, which is control your controllables. And in this age of so much pressure on higher education and so many things coming down from lots of different places, above and beyond and over and under, we can control our controllables. Right. We can control the things that are within our realm, and we will do so with ethics and in the best way possible.
Wow. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Berne. That gives great insight into who you are as a leader. So transitioning a bit to now you being here at Madison College. So why Madison College? What drew you to seeking a position at this institution?
Well, I'm going to tell you the before, which is before I came for my first visit, and the after.
Okay.
So the before is on paper, and in the community of community colleges where I have been an active participant for a long time. Madison College is extremely well respected. It's extremely well thought of. The whole Wisconsin system in the rest of the Midwest, and maybe the rest of the country, but I'm mostly in the Midwest. People talk about it in glowing terms. It's honorable, and it's influenced so many students. And it has a stature because it's the technical colleges that you don't often find. So I was very interested in finding more about Wisconsin Technical College System and Madison College in particular. I'm very interested in staying in the Midwest. I've been in the Midwest most of my life and plan to continue to be there. And so I was very happy to find an opportunity that felt like home. I've lived in 2 college towns. This will be my 3rd. And I really like the mix of culture and diversity and the priority that education is the priority that is given to education. So that's what I had coming in. Another advantage was that they were interested in me. Right. So that's always nice, and I felt that right from the first interactions that I had with them. When I came here, I understood that what Madison College was looking for was, I believe, the kind of student success-oriented leadership that I've been practicing and studying and working toward. And I was very impressed by how interested people were in how their mission, the mission of Madison College, matched my own personal values. And I could see them trying to see if it was a fit. Right. And I think that's, I really respect that. If it's not a fit, it won't work for anybody. Right. And so I appreciate that. When I was flying home, after the interview, I had kind of 3 images that I took with me on the plane. The first image, I was visiting the Watertown campus, and I saw a study room that was had a study space for adults and a study space for children, and had adult resources, technology, and books, and resources for children. And I had never seen anything like that. And I learned on my visit that over 40% of Madison College students are parents. And it was remarkable to see the adjustment that was made so that children could come to school with their parents and allow their parents to do the work they needed to do to progress in their studies. But also, I kept thinking, what a positive image the child would have of college. This is a place where my mom or my dad or my guardian goes and learns, and this is a place that I can go and learn. So that was, I thought, very resonant. The second one was an image from Goodman South. When I was being taken around, I was shown these photographs of all of the various communities that surround the new-ish campus. And sort of the pride that was coming off of these photographs and the way that they were displayed so that everybody walking by could see this is a college of our community. So that was a second. And the third happened at the Truex campus. I was shown the butchery section and the professor that talked to me about how he teaches students about butchery. I've been in many community colleges. I'd not seen that. I'd not seen a whole, maybe it was a cow, maybe it was a sheep, I'm not sure, being, professionally worked with so that they could provide resources for food resources for the community. And those three things together suggested to me how responsive Madison College is. So they respond to the needs of the parents, parenting students. They respond to the needs of the community, and they respond to the needs of the business and industry who are asking for those skills for our students. So I think those three things together, I couldn't get out of my mind. And it made me very excited about the opportunities and the commitments of the college.
Wow. Thank you for that, and for uplifting those nuances with the campuses, because those watching may not be even aware that those are things that we have going on at Madison College. So thank you for that.
Yes.
In reflecting on even your process, the forums and the different engagement opportunities that presented for you on campus, I feel like they were clustered into these three buckets, right? They were faculty opportunities, staff opportunities, and then also space for students to connect with you. And so in your time getting introduced to and learning about those audiences, what are, I guess, some takeaways that you're also looking forward to as you step into your role?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest takeaway is just immense pride, and I see why. I think maybe those of you who are living in these spaces every day don't realize as much of how much the spaces at Madison College represent the respect for student learning, for faculty and staff work, and for welcoming the community. It's both warm and cutting edge. It's both soft and hard. It's all of those things. And I think I see why people are proud to work here, and I see why students are proud to come to school here, and I see why alumni are proud to have been a part of it. So that was one thing that was, very resonant to me. I also noticed that people were very anxious to tell me about the work that they do. I want to hear about the work that they do. I want to hear about everybody's work, because that will inform my work. But when I walked into the International Student Center, the faculty, staff, and student workers were telling me about how they serve students. And when I walked into the nursing labs, the nursing faculty and students were working with the simulations and were explaining how that helps them become better nurses. And so I think being able to articulate their purpose came very, very clearly through. And also when I went back to my hotel and I had my Madison College gear carrying around, the person who worked at the hotel desk said, "Of course I'm a student at Madison College." So that made me feel that it's here and out there, and that actually the here and the there are blurred, that the college and the community are really symbiotic.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. And I feel like you've given a great transition point to talk about a couple different things. So Dr. Berne, during your interview process, something that stood out was your focus on the student experience and wanting them to have a sticky experience. Can you expound more on that for us?
Sure. I think students that are sticky are students who are resilient. And we know from talking to students that many of them have many other demands on their time and their commitments. And we also know that many of them are coming to school against great odds. They have parents or children to care for. They have full-time jobs. Some of them have health challenges. And because of that, it can be convenient to inconveniently have to stop coming to school. And what colleges can do to interfere with that is to create a stickiness. And a stickiness means that students feel connected to the institution in a very intimate way. And they get connected to the institution, I think, in the following ways. By knowing that there is academic support for them. So one of the things that happens, and it's happened to us all, is you're in a class and you feel unsure of yourself. You feel that other students know more than you. You feel that the professor is moving too fast. And that makes people naturally want to leave and makes them uncomfortable. And if you know that you have a place to go to kind of help with that, and those places are a professor's office hours, a testing center, an advisor, a friend. So if you have a person at Madison College or connected with Madison College who you can share those insecurities with, those frustrations with, and who can help you get back on your feet, because we all feel that way sometimes, and many, many of us are able to climb our way out of it. And that's what we want students to do. We want them to stick to the college no matter what tensions or pressures are bringing them out. Because in the long term, education is the gift to your family and to yourself and to your community that can't be replicated any other way. So what can the college do? We can be here for you in many, many ways. We can arrange opportunities for you to interact with faculty, staff, and other students in meaningful ways so that you build relationships that help you stick to the institution. And I include myself. I hope that students will come and introduce themselves to me and help me understand what their experiences are and how I might arrange my work so that it better supports them. The students and the college are the center. Teaching and learning are the center of what the college does. And who are we teaching and who is learning? They are students. So I'm eager to meet with as many students as have time to meet with me who can be informants. In another iteration of my career, I was a qualitative researcher, and I asked people questions to try and figure out their reality so that I could respond to it. And I would like to individually and in small groups and in classroom settings work with students and let them tell me how I can do my job. And I think that's of the utmost importance.
Absolutely, because when you think about even your role, perhaps to some students feeling removed from their day-to-day, the fact that you're trying to bridge that gap perception to say like, no, I want to be more intimately connected to you because I can then be informed about what you need and ultimately do my job in a way that best benefits you.
Absolutely. And if they feel shy or reserved about talking with me, I'll let them know I feel shy and reserved about talking with them. And we'll just get it through it together. They are interesting and unique people. I'm an interesting and unique person. And, together we should try and relate in ways that's productive to both of us. And I'm bouncing out of my chair really because I can hardly wait to interact as much as possible with students, both in their classes as they are supported and also as they are in the community, as both as alumni, as graduates, and as people who are working in the community and going to school.
Absolutely. Let's talk about your transitioning into your role, and with the context of you stepping into a position that has had longstanding leadership. So what does that look like for you, and what are you anticipating putting into place to support your transition?
Well, thank you for that question. I mean, I have great respect for what has come before me, both at Madison College in particular, and also just the foundational tenets of community college work, and how hard people had to work to make a space for people to be educated in their community, for their community, and that's very unique. That said, I can only be me. I appreciate that Madison College is putting their faith in me, and I believe that the past leadership was so effective, robust, and transformational because they had an effective, robust, and transformational team supporting them. In many ways, that team is still here, and so I will be very fortunate to work with them and learn from them. I'm also privileged because former leadership set a blueprint for what they thought was the next thing. And leadership is interesting. There's a leader for a season and for a purpose, and then the best leaders fulfill their purpose and pave the way for the next leader.
Right.
And I believe that I've been set up for success by previous leadership for a future that's focused, that takes all of the things that were done to integrate Madison College into the community, to elevate its status, to put it in the spaces that it needs to be, and really be able to now work student completion. We have everything we need. Now let's get all of our students to stay here, to have fantastic academic experiences, social experiences, emotional experiences, and then complete and go out into the world and do all the things that they want to do and that we need them to do.
Right. Thank you for that. And we're excited, absolutely. July 1st, right? That's your official first day?
July 1st is my official first day. I'm here I'm shopping around in the community. It's been really fun to walk around, to see on this beautiful spring weather that was 70 degrees when I got here and now is 45 2 days later.
Yes.
But to be expected, I'm a Midwest person and I'm used to that. But it's been great to walk around the halls, to see people in their spaces and doing the work that they do. And I'm very excited to be here July 1st full time. And I'm also excited for September or the end of August when the bulk of the students and faculty and staff all come together for the beginning of an academic year. I've always loved the first day of school, and I think we should note it as the first day of classes and celebrate it.
Absolutely. What are you envisioning for your first year?
A lot of questions, a lot of problems finding things, a lot of learning people's names, a lot of opportunity to reflect on what has been done and to ask people what the thing they want to do next is. I think the first year will be very exciting and very challenging. There's a whole internal community to meet. There's an external community to meet. There's the infrastructure of Madison to understand, and the whole county to drive through and interact with, and understand both the similarities of the whole service area and the differences and what's important about both of those. So I think I bet it will go very quickly. I bet if you ask me in a year, I'll say I can't believe a year has gone by, but I'm looking forward to it.
Wonderful. And what is assuming a presidency? What does that mean for you?
I mean, it's such an honor to be able to be the spokesperson and articulate the immense effect that Madison College has had on the community, and the pride to represent that pride and represent those spaces in the larger community. I'm also very eager to go into the national community college conversation with what Madison College is doing, has done, and can learn to do even better. So the knowledge sharing that community college in a state and across the country do is really remarkable. When we gather together, we are all for one, because we are all for students. And there are plenty of students to go around, and there are plenty of students who we know we can educate, and we can continue to improve so that we can educate better.
Absolutely. So Dr. Berne, when thinking about you transitioning to your role as incoming president at Madison College, what comes to mind relative to community engagement? And community can be thought of in a lot of different ways, right? And we have lots of different members of the community who hopefully will be watching this video and learning more about you. And so considering those members of the community who represent the workforce, who see Madison College as greatly contributing to meeting their needs, what would you like for them to know about you?
Well, I would like for them to know that we have a reciprocal relationship, that Madison College needs its workforce partners, and the workforce partners need Madison College, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. So we need to know directly what it is that you need. What kind of employees, what kind of talent, what kind of skills are you lacking, or do you need more of? And can you help us create opportunities for our students to know you better so that they're more likely to stay in the area and want to work for you?
Absolutely.
So, for example, our healthcare partners need nurses and respiratory therapists and dental hygienists. And we need our community partners to allow our students to do their clinicals inside those spaces so they can learn from your healthcare professionals, so that they can get comfortable in the healthcare community here, and so that they can be hired to take care of all of us.
Right.
So that relationship works so beautifully because we're both giving what we need to give. We also need them because things change very quickly, not just in healthcare, but also in advanced manufacturing, in public safety, in culinary. How quickly are things changing? And can you help us by offering an opportunity to work, to have your employees teach for us as adjuncts, bringing the community expertise, the day-to-day working into our classrooms? Can you help us with our curriculum? Can you serve on advisory committees so that our full-time faculty can hear how their curriculum is or is not meeting their needs? So also, do you have opportunities for our students to do internships? That said, we can do lots of things for you even outside the formal classrooms. So we can come in, and we are experts in teaching and learning, and we would love to work with you on teaching and learning the skills and strategies that your incumbent workers need, that your managers need, that your folks on the shop floor, new technologies, because we also have expertise and research that we're doing that can inform you. So this relationship of we need you and you need us, I think is really generative. I look forward to meeting business and industry leaders, healthcare, K-12, senior academic institutions, because we're all part of a continuum of community success. And if any of us is weak, we are all weak.
Absolutely.
And when one of us is strengthened, we all become strengthened, because we all have a really important stake in individually raising up our community, our families, our individuals. And also, I can't say this enough, we want them to love living here, love working here, so that we have generations to come of educated, engaged, diverse, and exciting citizens.
Absolutely. And I love the illustration you gave around sort of the network and the ecosystem that's created that ultimately all shares a goal with contributing towards student success, right?
Yes.
There's no one entity that can do that on its own, including the organizations that their role is to wrap around student support services. Like, it's all part of the network that Madison College plays a role in. So I appreciate that, because that is something that we're continuously reminded of when we're doing our work, the reliance on partnerships.
Right.
And it's encouraging to hear, like, you coming in as a new president, the mindfulness around that. And even you mentioning the regional campuses initially, the distinctions around how that may be differently prioritized based on the resources in different communities. So again, appreciate you calling attention to that as an important part of your role as president.
Yeah, I mean, we have a really important responsibility. And if the workforce is not skilled, we have to do better.
Absolutely.
And all of us have this extremely important stake in all of the things that make Madison County, Madison College, Dane County, the state of Wisconsin, the country, that make it great. And it's really hard to do that without a learning mindset. And what students can take when they come here is not just a degree or credential, but the idea that learning and growing and changing is lifelong. And we're here. So you may get a degree or certificate, you may go on to a 4-year, you may come back to us to get another credential, you may return to us as part of your work life, you may come to us to learn a avocation, to explore your hobbies. So we are here, we are only getting stronger, and individually, people are all a part of that.
Absolutely. On a personal level, what are you looking forward to becoming a part of the Madison community? Because you're newly moving to Wisconsin.
I am.
So just some things you're looking forward to as becoming a Wisconsinner and a Madisonian.
Yes, well, I'm very, very excited to be, is it a Wisconsinner?
I mean,
or
I said that. That's a
Okay.
good question, because I am not native to Wisconsin.
Okay.
So
Okay.
apologies, native Wisconsiners
Yes.
or Wisconsinites.
Yes.
So becoming native to Wisconsin or becoming a resident of Wisconsin.
Okay, well, I would just say that anybody who wants to email either of us and let us know
correct us.
and let us know what the correct
Yes.
nomenclature is, we'd be happy to hear it.
Absolutely.
So I'm excited to be in a region and a state that has both urban and rural importance, that has people who are city people and people who feel more connected to nature and who want more space. I think I said this before, but I'm very comfortable in a college town. I like the vibe. I like the young people. I like the people that aren't young, that are still educating. I like being around researchers and educators and finding them at the grocery store and at the restaurants and at the movie theater. So I also really, ironically, like both change and stability. So I've lived a lot of places, and I embrace those changes. I'm very happy. I would be very happy if this was my last change of state and region, and to really dig in. And I don't know as much about Wisconsin as I certainly want to know. You hear things. You hear Door County, and you hear Green Bay, and you hear Madison and Milwaukee, and to really understand what those places are and what they mean to the rest of the state, I think is very exciting. It's also an opportunity to have my family come, for my grown children come for holidays and vacations, and show them a different place to live. And I'm looking forward to that as well.
Wonderful. I understand you have a particular hobby that you're jumping into upon arrival here.
Yes.
Want to tell us about that?
Sure. So I've been a runner my whole life. It's both stress relief and the way I exercise my sporting chops. I love athletics and I love sports and I like to feel like an athlete, which you do on the days that you that the running feels good. I've run a lot of many marathons in many cities, including 3 times in Milwaukee. And in this November I'm going to run the Madison Marathon. So I will be looking for people along the trails if there are people who would be willing to train with me. I run slow enough that I can talk the whole time, so I'm a very good partner for running. I'll distract you as much as I can, and if people are interested in finding me along the marathon route, I will wear a Madison College shirt and be happy to slap hands with you along the way. The first 20 miles, the last 6, I get very crabby, but the first 20 miles, I'm usually in pretty good spirits. Yeah, so I look forward to that. I know Madison is a big biking community. When I was here a couple days ago, I couldn't believe how, on a beautiful day, I couldn't believe how many bikes there were. And I understand that the bikers are generous enough to share the trails with the runners. So I look forward to that.
Wonderful. And in thinking about the role as president, that is a significant job, right? It could be very all-encompassing for some people, but how do you keep yourself grounded and centered on you as you step into a role in a new setting, in a new community?
I don't think I will be able to do that very well.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm bouncing out of my seat to get ready. Because I had the absorbing experience of being a parent of young children. Once you have a less absorbing experience because your children are adults, to me, it felt like the day was then endless. I feel very stimulated by being at the college and talking about the college. And I don't feel that I'll need to separate so much. That said, I'm an excellent sleeper, and I will sleep 8 hours every night, and perhaps that is something that I'm doing for myself. People have admired my sleeping ability for many years, and I assume it will continue in this new space.
Is there anything that we haven't touched on today that you want to elevate in our conversation in introducing you to the Madison College and broader Madison community?
Yeah, I think it's interesting to know there's so many things when you go into a new job that you can do, and you want to move a million directions. And I think for me, it's helpful to kind of think about 3 things that I want to focus on in the first 30, 60, 90 days. And so maybe I'll just share those.
Sure.
The first is something that I've worked on at my last 2 jobs in academic leadership, which is I think I want to spend at least a part of every day doing something that will help one more student complete their journey. So what is the work that helps each student be able to be successful? And that sounds like, well, of course, that's what you're doing, but distractions happen.
Right.
And I think it's really useful as a heuristic for me to continue to ask myself, is the work I'm doing today helping one more student complete their goals at Madison College? The second thing is I am interested in making sure that any initiatives that I am a part of are continuously assessed for continuous improvement. And I think in some ways in higher education, nothing is ever done. So we start an initiative and we enact the initiative, and then it's incumbent upon us to reflect, revise, refine, and go again. And that's a continuous circle. And I think there's also a discipline to that. So nothing goes away. Everything just goes into its next iteration. So that's secondly. And then thirdly, I think it's really important to honor disciplinary knowledge, both in what the faculty know how to do and how to communicate to students, what the staff do on a daily basis, and what the students are learning to do, and really to honor that everybody is learning different things and is learning how to do different things. In preparing for becoming a president, there are many things that I was able to do and bringing with me. I always wanted to become a fluent Spanish speaker. And I was never, I haven't yet. And that's still a goal I have when I walk into Spanish classrooms and see students who have just started speaking. I have such respect, and awe of them. And I want to feel that way, and I do feel that way in every classroom that I walk into, that people are having a special experience and they're learning something that's hard. And in many, many cases, they're learning things that I don't know how to do. And I think a continuous reminder of that disciplinary specificity is really important. So helping one more student complete their goals, assessing everything early and often, and honoring disciplinary knowledge and what people know and are learning, I think are the three things that are going to keep me grounded in those first very busy days, weeks, months, and years.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Berne. I've appreciated your time and getting to know you, and look forward to you coming in as our new president here at the college.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to talk with you, and I understand I'm going to be working with you quite closely, and I look forward to that.
Thank you.
Take care.
You too.